Gareth Bull, Innovate Business Consulting Limited. We are business consulting specialists specialising in manufacturing sector, assisting manufacturing companies, improving their processes and their efficiencies. The business was started in July 2023, so it's coming up to a year old. My inspiration really was through working in PLCs in the past and privately owned businesses, and whilst being managing directors of those businesses and having support all around you, it's really that old adage of being it's lonely at the top. Sometimes is scarily quite true. And I think with this, what we find with SMEs in manufacturing across any business really is that a lot of companies do have the financial backing to have a full senior management team. That's really a sort of a luxury to some SMEs. And so what we do is we offer some senior director level, executive level support on a consultancy basis. It could be as little or as often as you need. It could be just a few hours a week that just bounce ideas off us, and that's just part of what we do. That's a small part of what we do, and that covers any sort of area of a modern business, whether it be HR or procurement, operations or sales and marketing, for example. So we can provide that sort of support to your business. I think for us as consultants, we find it's much better to work in the client's office, and for a couple of reasons, and there's some mutual benefits to that. Obviously, the first thing is cost saving. We don't have offices and the overheads that are associated with offices, and so we can pass that saving on to our clients. But whilst we're in the office, we get a much better feel for the business and what the business needs, and anything we implement, any new process we implement, we're there to see it work, to see the problems, to see any issues, to remedy them straight away, to make any slight changes, and not just the process but the culture of the business. We can see no one likes change, no employees like change particularly, and so we'll really be there to see the culture, the way that the changes that the management are asking us to implement are being accepted, and it really then we become one of the team rather than just an outsourced consultancy that sometimes have come across as the bad guys. I think for me, after working so long in the corporate world, I found that I've just got pretty lazy. Just send an email, I need a LinkedIn post tomorrow to the marketing department, and boom, there it is, it's done. The accounts are provided for you, and you work through and look through, and you just review and then shout at people for not performing correctly. So to be there and being, the buck stops with you, you have to do everything. Luckily, the other director of the business has got an accounts background, so she sort of backfills that bit. But I'm finding myself at this late age in my life signing up to Photoshop and looking at 3 hours worth of YouTube videos trying to understand how to work it. And this is realisation I've probably taken those departments in the past for granted. I think also work-life balance as well. I always assumed it would be better because you're not having a boss, but I think in reality, because my name's above the door, it's my branding, I want everything to be perfect, and that sometimes means that instead of going to bed at 5, finishing off at 5 o'clock, you're going to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning because you're just trying to make it perfect, and then a week later you read it again, and you want to change it again. It can be quite frustrating, but it's your little baby. So so the work-life balance. You have to be strict. If I work from home, you have to make sure that you have a start time and a lunch time and a finish time. Otherwise, it just runs and runs and runs. I think people think it's the other way around, where you can just play golf all day, but that does happen sometimes. But most of the time. You have to. It runs after. I think also for one of the biggest challenges for me is client acquisition. I was really naive in thinking that my website would be launched and the phone would ring 10 minutes later. And I've never had to network before. Didn't need to. I've worked for companies that you put a post out and 3,000 people would like it within 10 minutes. You know, but suddenly I'm working for a brand that no one knows about. So having that sort of awareness that you have to have a foot in lots and lots of camps, social media, you have to have your website going, you have to write blogs, you have to make the content actually interesting. That's the main challenge for me. I mean, you know, it has to grab the attention of the reader, and I haven't got an artistic bone in my body half the time. So it's really difficult, and that's getting there now. It takes a lot of traction, a lot longer than I ever expected. It's not for the faint-hearted, for certain. It can be rewarding, but it can be sort of soul-crushing at times as well. I think you really have to ask yourself some simple but tough questions, and I think you have to be really hard on yourself and the answers, and really sort of take almost like a worst-case scenario. But I think really you've got to ask yourself 3 or 4 questions along the lines of, what does the business do? What's the actual proposition? How does it differ from anybody else? Really do some market research, because you need to know up front who your competitors are, and how competitive the market is. You need to know all of that before you can even think about putting a financial plan together. And those numbers, if you're putting a financial plan together to assess whether it's financially viable, if your competitors are charging one amount and you're thinking you can charge something else because it fits in with your financial plan, then you really have to start to question and really be tough on yourself and say, actually, let's put those numbers in that the competitors are putting in, and let's see if the business works then. I think there's a real ideology of business that you're doing something that's slightly different, and can charge a lot more for it. And maybe sometimes that's the case, but if it is the case, make sure you've got some sort of quantifiable backup for that knowledge. I think have a robust marketing plan. As I found out myself, you can't just rely on the website or the odd social media post. You have to have a social media plan. I put together a social media plan every month, so I know exactly each week what is going to be posted and the variety of posts. It's almost a full-time job in itself just to market, and then in between that you've got to go out and network, and you've got to go and talk to other, lots of people about it, and then you've got to write blogs. And that's all around doing your actual job as well. So it's a lot to think about, but it can be rewarding. It's your business, it's your little baby, it's your legacy to your family and to the world. So it's worth doing. I did put together sort of a four-point sort of template for a business plan, which was quite basic, but I was quite tough on the questions I was asking. So really, the first thing was the business entity itself, importance of the name. Does it actually does the name actually mean something? Does it resonate? Is there a meaning behind it? But then that's the easy bit in the end, because you then got, you should decide what the legal entity is going to be, shareholdings. Is there anybody else going to be involved in the business? And so there's, setting up. Then comes the other bits like website. You're setting up your website registration, email registration. So there's a lot of front end stuff within that before you even start. I think then thorough market analysis is potentially that comes before you even set the business up. You need to know what market you're getting into, how competitive it is, how cutthroat it is. It might be You might be that kind of person, that entrepreneur that wants to be in a cutthroat market. It may be the case that you're going to a market where there's not many competitors, but that might change by the time you set the business up. So that's really important to know who you're going to be up against, what they're charging, because that really forms the backbone of your financial forecast and whether you require borrowing or any funding. I think sales and marketing strategy has to be, was the third point for me, how we're going to start marketing the business. Website was an obvious choice. Later on, the social medias, setting up, but again, it takes a while to set up all of your social medias. You know, do you go on to Twitter? Do you go on to Instagram? Is that your market? Is that where your customers are going to be lying on Instagram? For us, we're on Instagram, but looking back now, looking at it now, our client base probably isn't on Instagram, and so you have to constantly review what you're doing and where you're going to be posting this stuff. And I think then for the financial projections, because the buck stops at your door, you've got other directors to consider, and so you have to have financial projections. Cash flow is really, really important. I'm used to previously working with a large group that would, if things were a bit tight, they would maybe sub us. There's none of that anymore. That safety net's completely gone. So cash flow projections, I've never looked at cash flow as tight as I have done in the last year. So it's important that your market research is accurate or downplayed. So you have the worst case scenario is considered, and you maybe get an uptick. And so those really are the four parts of the business plan. And once those all came together, I was then happy to sort of move forward and to incorporate the business and to go forward with marketing. I'd say resilience and perseverance. That's something that probably didn't have a lot. Well, I had a lot of, but not to this extent previously. You have to get a lot of knockbacks. I've spent maybe 2 hours trying to navigate Photoshop for a post that's gone out and it's had 0 views. And you just think, well, actually, what's the point? I might as well not bother. But it all builds up and builds up and builds up and gains traction. And 3 months down the line, you put something out that you spent 10 minutes on, it'll get 30 or 40 views and 30 or 40 likes. So you've got to have that resilience, and you've got to just persevere with it. Adaptability, flexibility. I think work-life balance comes into it, but I would challenge anybody that looks at their phone even on Christmas Day maybe and sees, can I have some more information about potentially taking you on as a consultant? You would look at it and you would probably answer it, because it's your business. And anybody that says that and says I wouldn't do that, I challenge them and say you're probably lying, to be honest. Self-discipline and time management. I think a lot of people believe that with your own business you get a lot more time freedom. You can have a lot more time and freedom, but you have to put it back. You have to put it back in at some point. You go on holiday for a week, you're still going to come back to emails, and you're still going to come back because you're essentially it's your business. You've got to manage it even when you're away. I remember in the past with entrepreneurs that I've been speaking to, I think one guy said to me he was having drawings faxed through to the hotel. He was quoting for jobs while sitting by the pool, telling his kids not to splash too much. So that's always been the same, and I think you've got to be strict with your time. You've got to make the most of your time as well. I think you really have to focus on what you spend your time on is really important. Networking and relationship building. Something I've never done before, previously to having this business. It's new to me. It's I've had that attitude of I work for a corporate. You come to me and I'll decide if I want to deal with you. Now I'm not begging for work, but it feels like I'm actually sort of having to really get out there and get out get out of my shell and really push myself to meet new people. And it's actually interesting that, you know, I used to maybe have 20 contacts in my mobile phone, and probably a quarter of those were restaurants. So you know, now I'm into sort of hundreds of people that you just never know might be a potential client, or know a potential client, or know someone that can help, or want you to help their business. I think you have to have emotional intelligence as well. I think you need to understand your own strengths and weaknesses, and what you can do and what you can't do. There's areas where in our business we offer HR support. That's something I can't do personally. We have a specialist for that. We're looking at providing AI solutions at the moment. I've really limited knowledge of AI, and so it's having that emotional intelligence to say, actually, I want to offer this, but I realise I can't do it myself. So why not look into partnerships, into associates, and work that way to grow the business through associates. We offer a 2-hour free one-to-one session for any new entrepreneurs or business startups, because we understand that it is difficult. There's lots of things to think about. We don't have many staff, but there might be an entrepreneur or business startup that has employees, or planning on bringing in employees, maybe a restaurant or something that requires employees, and so anything like that where HR support is needed on top of everything else that's going on as well, we can help with that with our one-to-one support, and it can cover anything. So you can book it through our website, www.innovateconsult.co.uk. You can just fill on the online form. We'll come back to you with some times. It'll be done via Teams to start with, and it could be anything, any issue that is across the board of starting up a new business, and we'll be there to try and help.
My name is Nicky Buckley. My business is East Midlands HR, and we provide HR and recruitment services to businesses. 5 years old now from June, so that's great. Can't believe it. Can't believe we've actually got this far, but I'm really looking forward to the next 5 years and more, I think. Well, my background is logistics. I've had lots of positions of various logistics companies, as you would do in Northamptonshire. There's lots of logistics firms around here. And I've seen quite a lot of things go on and had lots of experience of the whole employee life cycle. I've also got line management experience, and that's how I got into logistics in the first part. I was obviously probably good at doing disciplinaries for one reason or another, so that's why I got into HR. And then it was just a case of, actually, I want some more time at home, and how can I do this? I've got lots of pets and animals and things to do at home. And I thought, I needed to have a bit of a break. And then I just did some part-time jobs. And it was actually somebody suggested to me, why don't you set up on your own? I never even thought of it. Then I thought, well, why don't I? And hindsight's a wonderful thing. I wish I'd have known more when I actually pressed the button with Companies House and I registered, but I did. So it was really, really good that I did that, and I've probably learnt quite a lot all the way through. So I did some temporary jobs starting off, and then went through to being fully fledged, just me, and now I work with associates. So that's really good that the business has grown. Well, really is knowing where to start. As I said, I'd press the button, and then it's kind of, okay, what do we do now? Never really thought about, oh yeah, I do need a business plan, who are going to be my target market. The marketing, I think it's a dark art. Hats off to all the marketeers out there in the world. It really is getting that really refined and tuned to who you're trying to target and what services you're going to offer. I mean, I used to say, oh, I can do everything. I thought, actually, no, we've streamlined that down, and we've made some monthly plans that we think really do benefit and give value to the businesses that we work with. They're very, very much in size. It can be anything from 2 employees to 152 employees. That's our current headcount at the moment. And again, across all the sectors. So people are people. You have the same issues across the board. So yeah, it's just getting in there and getting stuck in. So first off, I was just doing some networking, local networking. Then I realised you could actually do networking morning, noon and night, and probably get fed all the time. You think, okay, you've got to try and work out which networking is right for you, what works for the time you do and what you can do. Because when I first started, I carried on with some part-time work as well, so I fitted stuff in around. And it's just making sure that the networking is getting your message and your visibility out there and helping you with what you want to do. Also, I was part of a wider HR consultancy group as well, and that was really good. So I did have some support and training from a HR consultant group that helps you get set up to do your business, because obviously there's lots of HR consultants, and we also do lots of similar things, but it's some of the basis to say, okay, what does your monthly plans look like? If you are going to do that, are you going to specialise in certain things, so that you can really see where your specialisms are and what your businesses you're going to work for. Getting to this stage I'm at now, but actually working with associates and actually to really deliver on what we're doing. We're trying to make new things, like we said, the engagement survey, trying to bring in new things that we can offer to clients. The HR software, I've always worked with HR systems, so we now specialise with one HR system, but we've really developed that so that we can really tailor that down to clients' needs depending on what they want. So there'll be standard functions and other modules you can add on. So again, I think it's the systems, the recruitment system. We love the recruitment system we work with, and it's getting us really good results. You know, we just make it really, really easy. So yeah, I guess that would be it. I suppose for me, the unexpected challenges are when you're not getting like regular work. So that's why I decided to do a split of, I have monthly plans and I also have ad hoc work as well, so that I get a nice balance. I like a good variety of work, so I'm not doing the same old employee relations stuff all the time. That's probably one of the reasons why I left the corporate world as well. It's a good balance for me, and just trying to work out what's right for you, what you want your business to look like. Probably would have done a lot more research first, although I took the time while I was part-time working as well to do that while I registered the company. So I kind of registered the company and then start, which I guess is fine, but it's a case of, yes, do the networking, meet other people that have been through the same process as you, and work in collaboration with other people. And we try and get in software smart, so we can offer a range of things, and we're looking at right to work checks, engagement surveys. We do all lot, and that's all like created by ourselves, with the exception of the right to work. This has to be specific software. So for us, it's a no-brainer to have these sort of things, because it means we can do the right to work checks, whereas actually if it was just somebody else, a hybrid worker, or somebody that have to go in and see the employer and take in the documents, whereas we can actually send them an online check. It's all certified through the correct regulatory bodies, and then it gets sorted. as I said, the engagement survey, we're actually now expanding on that, so it can do more things with forms. So it means we can really speed up the processes from making sure that the onboarding and the new starters is really quick, and there's no chasing people for information. We've all got data. So we've really concentrated on the software and what we can use. So much so we're now looking at driver license checks, because there's things in like that just makes it really easy. And again, if we have it that can cover all our businesses, it means we can pass that cost saving on to the businesses really easily.
Ooh, interesting. Didn't know about that. Okay. How do you stay current? How do you stay up to date with current industry trends and innovations?
So for my sins, I am the chair of the CIPD in Northamptonshire, so that's the HR chartered membership. And with that, we have lots of events, and we try to put events on that are relevant to HR professionals in Northamptonshire, but also that means I can keep up to date as well. I have to keep up to date with the CIPD, but also looking at businesses and seeing what's changing and where things are. So if you look at remote working and hybrid working, that's still in place today, and it's okay. This is why we do a lot of the things we can do remotely, so that the onboarding process is really easy. So we try and make sure that everything we do from a HR point of view, because there's been lots of changes to employment law, and there's more coming, and it's probably going to be more coming again, I would imagine, from the 4th of July, so we shall see. So I would imagine there'll be some more changes there as well. So it's just making sure that we have got up-to-date information and we can quickly change that. That's why we use the HR system, so that when we're using working with our clients, anything that we need to update in terms of policies, we can just log on there straight away, do the changes, and we can make the announcements out to employees really quickly.
Yeah, brilliant.
I think resilience has got to be out there, because I think I couldn't say that I've not had a wobble and think, oh God, why don't I just go and get a paid job? Because I have. And I'm sure there's other people that thought, you know what, where's this next client coming from? Where's this? And then you do all things, and there's something suddenly happens, and you think, okay. And it's just a case of, when you're not a natural salesperson, it's a case, I know all the benefits of HR and having all the practices. I've just got to make sure that that's what I can get across. So, you know, there are lots of people that say, well, a document's a document. But yeah, if you have to refer back to that through disciplinaries, or even to employment law, those pieces of paper, those documents are essential. And that's where, you know, it's really essential that you have that sort of resilience, and you'd want to do everything correctly. Also, I think you've got to be creative, because, you know, as I said before, there are a lot of HR consultants out there, so you want to do things slightly different maybe, or how you come across. But again, you want to also remain yourself and be true to yourself. So I'm always honest, I can't help it, that's the way I am. So you just try and say, okay, and I try and give people options, so that they know, actually, this is the best practice, but actually the legal minimum could be this, and then we can work out what's going to be best. So it's a case of just, okay, being creative, having that bit of resilience to say, you know, some things, they don't work, and you just got to keep going, and just think of, you know, why did you start this in the whole first pressing the button? Why did you start your business? And staying true to that. That's your vision, your life vision, what you want your life to be.
We all want the bare necessities of life. To have a place we can call home. To have a family that's happy and united. To have protection for your loved ones. To have a good job where you're valued. But life is full of ups and downs, and sometimes we all need a bit of friendly legal expertise to smooth things out. Visit our website to find out more. Wilson Brown Solicitors. We're all the help you need.
It's a really interesting journey, because I started in my 20s, and I started out of necessity, really. I'd been working for an organisation in Wellingborough, and the person that owned the business was selling it, and I really wanted to kind of continue with some studies. So I started an open university degree, was made redundant from this particular job, and my husband bought me a typewriter. So it does go back that far. And I think that, so I started off doing secretarial and bookkeeping, and that led to a whole range of other things. The thing that I've loved about running a business is the opportunity to do different things. So some people say to me when they talk to me about their career and what they've done, I'm really bored with this, I want to do something else. When you run a business, and the thing that we don't talk about very often, is that you can expand into other areas. So from typing and bookkeeping, recruitment agency, desktop publishing when that first came out, through to running the Food and Drink Awards for the county, delivering administration for charities, and we've done a number of those over the years. You can adapt what you're doing to the needs of the marketplace. So if there's a need, if there's a requirement, if something needs to be done and you look around, or in fact somebody asks you, can you do this? There's such an opportunity to be creative, to learn new things, be innovative. No, I don't think we do, and I would encourage people to see it as a chance to either to be just focused on a business or to be doing it alongside their own university or other kinds of training. I know the University of Northampton do some great things around that, so that's a good place to look for those people. The reason why I think it's good to start when you're 20 is that I was much braver then. You know, I didn't know what I didn't know, and so I was ambitious, I really wanted to do things, and I realised that part of my passion for me was to do things where I could change a little bit of the world. I met somebody from the Small Business Service, a chap called Harold Crystal, and he chatted to me. He was quite an interesting chap really, because I don't think he thought running a secretarial business was going to be profitable. And it was quite funny because I was chosen as a case study, and there's a little newspaper clipping out there in the office about me and what I did and that kind of thing. What I found through that early intervention is when you talk to somebody else, not your partner, parents, friends, we talk to somebody else, and actually not your accountant or bank manager, about your business, about your dreams and your issues, it can really help bolster your confidence and make a difference. So what was great was that taught me at a really early age of the power of mentoring and those kinds of things that actually I've gone to develop in my own business, and I really enjoy doing. Yeah. Mentoring is really important. So from my own perspective, I have a number of people that I draw on for guidance and advice, and to just give me a good listening to. So I don't just have one, I have many in all kinds of arenas, and I think that developing that network is hugely important as a business owner. And then, as you know, I'm involved in a number of mentoring schemes. So currently I'm running one for the Network of Women Chairs, where I'm co-chair, doing one with Career Development Institute, so those two are kind of national ones. But then also being involved in other things locally, food and drink mentoring, group mentoring, but I deliver training for young people who want to be mentors, and other peer mentoring programs as well. So, you know, none of us invent anything new, do we? We all stand on the shoulders of giants, which is, you know, incredible. I think that challenges always come around funding. So I think these past few years have been really interesting. The pandemic and everything that kind of happened around that, and then the subsequent increases. You know, the increases in energy costs and everything else, and staffing and those kinds of things. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, and you can have great cash flow, but I remember having a really big contract when I was based at the business centre on the Dennington estate. I had a really big recruitment contract with a large national organisation. and their payment terms were 60 days, which I hadn't kind of factored in. And so that would mean I would need to go into overdraft. And I was young, was in my late 20s at the time. And I remember talking to the bank manager who said to me, but my dear, and other kind of slightly patronising tones, although I do appreciate being spoken to kindly, who is this company that owes you the money? And so I had, with great glee, the delight of telling him the name of this large national organisation who actually also banked with them and yet was still given really punitive terms for this overdraft. So at moments like that, it's a really difficult thing, isn't it, when you're faced with those things. And in this country, for some reason, we run away from those things that involve maths and finance. So don't make the mistake that a younger me made in not finding out about the options for raising money, if necessary, and more importantly, for living in accordance with what you're bringing in. I don't know where to start with those. I can't believe, Simon, every day I pinch myself in terms of the range of people I meet, the great customer base, just the capacity of people to who want to do things differently. Now that's because the business now is a lot of things like supporting the food and drink sector, but also mentoring and coaching and training. So, for example, yesterday I was training an organisation, and one of the bits of feedback at the end of the day was, I've realised now that I can stop and think, or if I stop and think, I can change the way I deal with something rather than just reacting. Well, that's, you know, that sent me off in a real high. It's that kind of thing. So through my business, I ran a charity for the Archbishop of Canterbury for over 33 years. So 4 archbishops and 5 chairmen, and some significant chairmen with national influence at that. That was great. I think I'm entering the 16th year of the awards, as you know, Food and Drink Awards. I think that's a major achievement. But mainly, I get satisfaction from doing the best job, well, not me, the whole team, doing the best job we can, and people being pleased with that level of service. So know why, that's the first one. Know why you're doing it. Nobody else need know that, but you do. And the reason you need to know it is in the middle of the night when things are going wrong, or you're worried about something that may happen, or you're slightly anxious, or you're getting a bit of a gut feeling about something, just remember why you're doing it. That can be really helpful. I think the next one is something to keep being tenacious. I think you can't give in easily. You've got to have a resilience around you. And when you start in business, you might not understand what that means or how that is, but it's like in leadership. You know, the better leader you are, the more comfortable you are with dealing with things that other people might think are difficult. So just being confident in your ability, whatever comes along, good or bad, you know how to deal with it. And that comes down to values. And then the third K is kindness. Be kind to yourself first. Be kind to those that you work with, mainly. But generally, if your view of life can be one that is kind of spreading positivity rather than negativity, goodness, the world is a much better place, and it's great fun to be able to do that.
At Wilson Brown, our family law team deals with all things concerning relationships and what happens when they break down. We deal with everything from disputes about the family home and other assets to how your children are cared for. With all options considered, including mediation, we'll help you consider the needs of everyone involved and find the best way forward so you can make the right decisions for the future. With Wilson Brown Solicitors, we're all the help you need.
I'm Elizabeth Ryan. I run Elizabeth Ryan, the personal travel agent, and I'm part of the personal travel agents from Mid-Counties Co-op. We're in association with your co-op, so we have a big organisation behind us. And I'm absolutely passionate about travel, so my mission is to get people to go to places where they've never been before and come back a little bit changed for the good. I've been self-employed since 2011, but with a different business. I left the Foreign Office. I was a civil servant. I left the Foreign Office on a round of voluntary early severance, had no clue what I was going to do, and just had a little bit of breathing space. And actually, it was my daughter who inspired me to start a coaching business. She was a figure skater competitively, and I just could see that they were taught to skate, the mechanics of it, but nobody actually dealt with the mindset. And I just felt this was a gap that nobody was covering. And I decided to get myself trained up and qualified as an NLP coach and master practitioner, and ultimately became a mindset coach, mainly for figure skaters, but also other youngsters in sport. Eventually, when I decided to go into travel, it was literally a bolt from the blue. I had an email in my inbox from an organisation, a franchise organisation I'd signed up to years before, never opened their emails, and then suddenly this one said, "Read me." And it was about a franchise in travel. And that was a box that wasn't being ticked with my other business, and I really, really missed the travel that I'd been doing with the Foreign Office, and decided to look into it. And sure enough, I decided to go ahead and get involved in travel, and I've been loving it ever since. It's about talking to people and really understanding what they want to feel, what they want to experience. A lot of my competitors tend to look at, well, where do you want to go? When do you want to go? Who's going? What's your budget? And that's it. I like to talk to people because sometimes what they think they want is not what they actually do want. So I dig a bit further and sometimes send them to a completely different place, which they obviously want to go to. It's not sort of something that I'm forcing them to do. But I find that what they really are looking for might be better served in a different place. And it's so lovely to see people posting on Facebook about their holidays. I've got somebody out in Australia at the moment, and she's having an absolutely amazing time. And this is a really complex itinerary that I've been able to put together for her, with so many just, out-of-the-world experiences that she's really not going to experience again. I love ticking people's bucket lists off. I think the first few challenges were getting known, getting myself out there. With the initial business, the coaching business, it was something that nobody else was doing. So I really was pioneering in the field at the time. And explaining to people what it was and the value of it was really quite challenging, especially with skater mums who would rather pay the money for a sparkly dress, whereas actually getting into the mindset would get their children much further. So that was quite a challenge. Imposter syndrome always happens. I think women in business tend to face it perhaps more than men. I don't discount the fact that men might too, but I think we all think that what we do is just, well, common sense, isn't it? Why would people pay me to do that? And everybody else out there is so much more experienced and so much better than I am. That's a real thing at the beginning, the imposter syndrome. And you have to really work hard to just become resilient and get over that. And to get over that, you need to be working with your ideal customers. So you really need to find the ideal customers. One of my mantras is, just because you can doesn't mean you should, especially when people are involved in coaching. Newly qualified coaches always think, I can coach anyone. Travel agents, I can serve anyone's travel business, business needs or travel needs, holiday requirements. But it doesn't mean that really makes me come alive. I want to be dealing with the people who want the sort of travel I'm passionate about. I'm not a great fan, unless you really need that relaxing break, I'm not a great fan of the fly and flop, as we call it, just sort of fly out to the Canaries and flop down on a beach. I sort of get a little bit itchy. I need to sort of go and do something after about 5 minutes watching everybody else and thinking, is it nearly this time yet? So I want to be dealing with those people, and that really helps you get more confident, I think, in running your business, because that if you're doing what you're passionate about and not trying to be somebody else, then that's what really makes your business work, and it means that people are drawn to you. The right people are drawn to you, and the people that you could serve but are not necessarily your kind of client are perhaps, you can still serve them, but they're perhaps less likely to come to you, so you get the right clients, and that really does help with confidence. It's a kind of circle there. It's very different this side of travel. I had made arrangements for friends and family and done all sorts of my own travel plans and everything, and I thought I'd be really good at this. And I am, but I am now bound by the travel regulations, and the package travel regulations have to be very, very exactly met. And it's for the security and the safety of customers, so it's completely understandable. But it's a lot different this side. Trying to put things together, having a large number of suppliers, but nevertheless not everybody. So if you come to me with a very random company that does a particular type of tour, if that company is not one that we're contracted with, then it's not impossible, because there might be a contracted company that will work with them for me, but it makes it quite difficult. But we have to adhere to the regulations. So that was an unexpected challenge I wasn't expecting. The other one, obviously, was COVID. When I started in travel, I jokingly said, people are always going to want to travel. It's not like they'll shut the world down, is it? And there we were with the world shut down. It meant that we still had to pay in the various fees to have access to systems. So we still had outgoings, but nothing coming in. And then this country would suddenly become off limits. That country would become off limits. One good thing, I think, about that, though, was that for me, as a relative newcomer, I felt it levelled the playing field a little bit. So all of those people who'd been in travel a long, long time were struggling too, with exactly the same things. And so I felt more confident in a way, because also, having been in the Foreign Office, I understood how they worked, and I understood how the travel advice works. So I think that was a bit of a plus for me. But it did level the playing field a bit, so that was a plus. And at the end, you come out a little bit stronger, but you never know what's going to happen, what's around the corner. And for that reason too, I think I would say to people, if you've got something on your bucket list, do it. Do it while you can. It doesn't have to cost a fortune. Your bucket list might be something that's actually quite affordable. You'd be surprised. Or you can sort of scale it down a little bit, but still get the same sort of joy and experience. So I think COVID was a huge unexpected challenge, as it was for every business. But it was particularly difficult, and the government just didn't get how it impacted the travel industry. I think they just don't understand the different strands of us between, say, tour operators and travel agents. They don't understand the difference, airlines and so forth, and even the package travel regulations. So that was quite hard. And hopefully they've learned a little bit now. So, yeah, that was a very unexpected challenge. Niche. That is one of the things that, especially in coaching businesses, but I think in every business, if you're not niching and looking for your ideal client, then you're not really going to get the right people coming to you. That is incredibly important. Everyone tells you that, you never believe it, and then you finally start doing it and it really works. Networking is another one. Networking is crucial. Family and friends are always going to let you down. They're never going to deal with your business because they've seen you in a different light. They know you differently. And especially in travel, we all find that family and friends never book us. So networking is definitely the way to go. Outsource if you can afford to. There will be lots of parts of your business where there are things you're not very good at, or you just don't like doing, but have to be done. And there are people who love doing those things. If you can afford it, get someone else to do it, even if it's just a temporary thing, to get shot of emails or to perhaps start you up on social media planning. Just outsource. Show up consistently. This is something I did during COVID. A lot of my competitors just stopped appearing. They disappeared into the background. And I just felt that since I was still relatively new, I wanted my name out there. I wanted people to remember me for when COVID was over and they start booking me for their holidays. So I wanted to be everywhere. So I showed up consistently, networking online and in person when it was happening. I've already said that just because you can doesn't mean you should is a really important mantra. And finally, I think stay true to your values. That's really important. Don't try and be someone you think your customers want you to be or expect you to be. Be yourself. Your customers will warm to you. The right customers will come to you because they know you, they feel comfortable with you. There are lots of travel agents out there who might be better for other customers. There are lots of coaches out there who might suit somebody better. You need to be you. You need to be yourself and stay true to your values. I find networking is crucial to my business. Most of my customers come directly or indirectly from networking, through referrals, if it's indirectly. As I said before, the friends and family, they sort of get it, but they don't really. So you really need to rely on networking. And I think it gives you confidence as well, because you're in a group of people who are going through the same things as you are. No matter what the business is, they are also experienced. You know, there are newcomers, there are people who are much longer established. You understand that other people have the same issues. It's not just you. And that will help with the confidence and the imposter syndrome. You realise that other people are going through this too, and you can learn so much from other people and how they do things and how they overcome things. And you're in a nice, safe environment to do that. So one of the biggest problems or biggest challenges that I have now is demonstrating that value, that passion that I was talking about earlier, demonstrating the value of booking with me and not just doing it yourself. There's no cost to booking with me, and there's huge amounts of value added. I had a customer who couldn't find their boarding passes, and he emailed me from the gate. Clearly he'd got the boarding passes because he wouldn't have got to the gate if he didn't. But I was able to instantly get another copy sent to him. He was then on the plane, and he was able to get, and the boarding passes also for the shuttle that he was after. As soon as he arrived, they were there. Now, if you had booked that yourself, you'd be stressed, you'd be worried, you'd be wondering what would happen when you arrived. There'd be no shuttle because you hadn't got the tickets. You'd be spending your holiday and your precious holiday time phoning companies, airlines, trying to figure out, how you're going to deal with this. Instead, there was one message to me, and I just leap into action and get it all sorted. But demonstrating that value is really hard, and people are still saying, well, why would I use you and not just book it myself? So that's my main message at the moment when I'm marketing, is trying to get people to understand that. To be honest, it was a relief because I think a lot of people perhaps start in self-employment in this way. I'd had so many challenges personally, some family losses and all sorts was going on. It was a bit of a relief to have, as I said, it was voluntary early severance in my case, and I just needed breathing space. So it was quite exciting, daunting, and I did decide that I wanted to train in something to make sure that I had some kind of qualification behind me in whatever I wanted to do. So, it was exciting, really. It was exciting. And then coming from coaching to travel, I had to navigate that very carefully. I had been, my thing was showing up consistently, and I had been networking consistently with the coaching business. Although I have to say, not with a huge amount of success for my own business, simply because the people that I needed to reach were mostly in the skating community, who I already knew, and the people I was networking with certainly weren't in that community, and they mostly didn't have connections. So I then came into travel, where it would be quite a different thing. And having shown up consistently with one hat on, with one business, I needed to not appear to be let's use the word flibberty-gibbet, and just flitting from one business to the next, because you do sometimes see that. And I had to make a strong point that my coaching business still remained, I wasn't closing it, but that I wasn't going to be marketing it anymore, and that I was now going forward as a travel agent, and that was what I was going to be networking with. And the networking groups I belonged to at the time, I made quite a big thing about explaining that, so that people didn't just think, oh, well, one day she's this and one day she's that. So it does take careful navigation. And if anyone is thinking of doing that, I'd be more than happy to sort of have a chat with them about how I navigated that. I think I managed it fairly successfully, and I still show up consistently, but with the travel now. I think with the coaching, my biggest success is my clients' biggest successes. And I got our then British champion pairs couple, who didn't believe they could. I got them to the European Championships and qualified for the World, so they were able to actually fulfil their dream of going to the World Championships. I was also on BBC TV Ice Stars in one programme, because I was working with one of the skaters that they were following on that. So I felt that those were quite successful things to notch up. On the travel, I think it's very much still work in progress, but to me, success right now, I still feel it's fairly early days, and success right now is that I am seeing more of my ideal clients coming through rather than just anybody, which tells me that I am starting to market in the right way. And that's it. It might be a small success, but that to me is a success, because it's the first step to many others, I hope.